Hello people! Today I want to talk about cows. You might know them as steak, this beautiful glass of milk, or a fine leather boot. You go girl. Or just that black and white animal that isn't really inclined to move around too much. Point of the matter is that we all know them, and most human societies rely on them in the modern era. Cow milk came into our lives at a point where human breast milk production just wasn't enough for the entire adult population. No, we're obviously kidding. Human societies all around the world have been relying on dairy from livestock for centuries. In the 10,000 years that follow since we domesticated cows, dairy production has went a long way. From villages that had at most a few livestock animals to produce milk and dairy for the young and elderly, to mega farms that house thousands of cows to produce dairy for practically all humans in all life stages and for 1 to 3 meals a day, plus coffee and dessert. So honestly, it has gotten pretty difficult to imagine life without it. Basically, as humanity grew, so did our milk production and consumption, as seen in this figure here, showing each of their growths over the past 20 years alone. In order to supply our insatiable need for milk in every single meal, plus dessert, a single cow's dairy production has gone up in astronomical numbers, as well as the percentages of nutrients such as protein and fat within it, as seen in this figure here, depicting the yearly milk production of Israeli cows over the last 20 years in gray, as well as the fat and protein contents in yellow and green respectively. So how exactly did we accomplish this epic upgrade to a cow's productivity, do you wonder?
Super characterized genetic lineages and balanced nutrition?
No! I mean, yes, but that's not my point right now. Where was I? Talking about well-being, it has long been said that a happy cow is a productive one as well. In the last 100 years, milk-yielding herds have mostly been moved to indoor facilities. This modern housing situation, while sometimes muddy and, fragrant to us humans, protects the cows from parasites, precarious weather conditions, free-ranging monsters, etc., while also providing the farmers with a better infrastructure to keep tabs on the nutrition, health, and well-being of the herd. In this process, cow feeding has also been transformed. From mainly outdoor grass grazing at all hours of the day, cows now have a meal plan on a tight schedule provided by their farmer mommy and daddy or any other non-binary farmer. We're okay with all of them. Most milk herds receive 1 to 3 meals a day at set hours, which translates to 3 to 5 active hours of eating per day. During these feeding times, all the cows access the food together at the same area of the enclosure. While some of the changes made during the transition to indoor housing are beneficial for both cows and humans, we would like to explain how this transition in feeding terms has also put a strain on the cow's well-being and productivity, and exhibit a few simple ways to readjust our feeding techniques in accordance with that. So despite their slow movement and inability to answer even the simplest, most direct questions, cows are far from simple animals. They are social beings that rely on their herd, much like humans. To continue this comparison, cow herds, like human societies, rely on a backbone of social hierarchy. Different factors come together to form this delicate balance that enables the distribution of resources through the members of the herd and the continuation of their coexistence in a serene way. Inevitably, this hierarchy places members of the herd on a social curve. Some individuals are very dominant, and others are left with the undesirable, low-paying part of being a subordinate cow. While each individual's cow's social standing doesn't greatly affect grass grazing in the great outdoors, concentrating feeding delivers a prime time to exude dominance for the cow. The competition between them mostly affects the less popular, say, Star Trek-loving cows, to portray abnormal feeding behavior. This novel situation in which cows have to eat in enclosures at a crowded setting has also been previously linked to a rise in stress levels among subordinate cows that also display shorter eating times, as well as a decline in milk production, milk nutrient levels, and a rise of various types of diseases. In a 2017 article, a group of Canadian researchers assessed the effects of varied intensities of competition on the feeding behavior of milk cows in respect to the group as well as its contributing individual members. They created 3 levels of feeding competition. In In the most competitive scenario, the ratio of manger to cows feeding from it was 1 manger to 3 cows, and at the most relaxed one, each cow had its own manger to feed from. In the following 10 days, the researchers analyzed the feeding behavior of the cows in each group, quantifying the feeding time, amount, and rate, and additional peripheral well-being characteristics. In a very expected turn of events, the higher the competition for the same food source, the lower the times the cows wanted to spend around it or eating from it at all, especially the lower-ranked cows on the social dominance scale. So, to further prove our point, we will use the tested method of presenting you viewers with as many compelling figures we had time to edit in. So, in this one, you can see the amount of time the cows spend around the food source. The dark line represents the most competition, and as the color of the line lightens, so does the number of cows eating from the same manger. Trying to make up for the lost feeding times, the cows that were subjected to the most competition, again displayed here by the darkest line in this very persuasive monochrome figure, had increased their feeding rate in comparison to the 2 other groups. Personally, I was mainly shocked to learn that they can really do anything fast at all, In addition, solely in the most competitive scenario, the cow's behavior was more varied within the group. This seemingly irrelevant and confusing fact is our evidence for a social ranking that inhibits the cows from approaching the food whenever they want to, kind of like all of us and that last cheese stick on the table. You know what I mean. Other important changes that were noted in the most competitive group in comparison to the other 2 are a decrease in milk protein levels as well as a decrease in cow chill time, aka the amount of time each cow spent lying down. So really, the point here is that we can see how a limited access to food inhibits the lower-ranked, socially awkward cows from exhibiting their natural feeding inclinations and binds them instead to behave in accordance with their social status. In other studies done by a British group, the researchers attempted to assess subordinates' cow motivation to avoid sharing the manger with the dominant one. These cows preferred eating at a safe distance from other cows, even at the price of eating a lower quality food. So what do we have so far? Tight feeding arrangements lead to a modified feeding behavior that includes aggression, less time spent eating, fewer nutrients in milk, sadder cows, and, obviously, sadder people. So we say enough is enough. As parents or non-binary farmers, we must love all of our children the same, and in that respect, allow them all an equal access to feeding resources. We hope that you too, by this point, are convinced that each cow on the farm should have access to sufficient feeding space. But how exactly can you do that? Well, our first and easiest option is for you to keep less animals in your farm, or alternatively, just move to a smaller flock, such as sheep, dogs, cats maybe. But if none of these options suit you, we recommend that you adjust your current farm to allow them more space. A Canadian research from 2013 demonstrated how every increase of 10 centimeters to the cow's feeding space improved the nutrient levels in the milk and reduced somatic cell count in it. There has also been an overflow of different studies on the subject in recent years, testing a variety of spatial changes in the cow's world. So no matter which way you choose to do it, the main point is to increase each cow's feeding space to 90 centimeters at least, or just install feeding stalls that allow for a more defined spatial separation. So far, we hope we managed to convince you that giving the cows some space is really a good idea, with some added bonuses such as improving their productivity and their well-being. Thank you!